Hi, all, David Peck here, and today I will be ranking every player who played at the AFL level this year for the Port Adelaide Football Club in the 2024 season. So I've got all the players down here that I think that I can remember from the top of my head that at least played one game in the AFL side this year. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different kind of tier rankings on where I think each of those players deserve. So elite are your elite players, which I think absolutely control the game, dominate the game. Anyone would want one of these players in their team. Doesn't matter what side you support in the AFL. Then you've got your starting 22, which I think are your 100% locks for your starting 22 this year. And then I've also got your A/B grade players. So these are players that played most of the season at the AFL level, and I think they are at the AFL level, but sometimes they play not their best games, and sometimes I think they're not our elite players. They're not a confirmed starting 22 player, but they're good enough to actually play at that level. Then I've got the SANFL. So these are our top-up players, which I think aren't at the AFL standard level, but if we need to bring a player up into the AFL league because of an injury or suspension, then these are the players here who are top-up players. And then the green, the last tier list is our delisted list. So these are the players I don't think should be in our side at all. So not just the starting 22, but our overall team of 40. Now, some of these players that I put in the delisted may still be under contract. So we can't officially delist them, but I feel that they should be delisted at some point of their career, as there's no hope left for them to play at the AFL level. All right, so let's go through it quickly. So I'll just randomly choose someone. So Lachie Jones is starting up. Lachie Jones, although he's not 100% confirmed in our starting 22, he's still quite young, so he's definitely at the A grade/B grade level for us. Radicalia, definitely not in our starting 22. I'm not too sure why they played him as a forward. I thought they'd try something different. That's probably why. But when people say Hinkley's not a bad coach, he's a bad coach when he selects Radicalia as a forward. He did nothing in the forward line, scored 0 goals, 0 impact, doesn't lead for the ball. But he's good enough, I would say, just to make the AFL level if needed. He's a strong unit. He's a solid unit, tall unit. All right, who's randomly got to get selected next? All right, so it's Mead. Jackson Mead. Jackson Mead, he's played well this year. He's played okay. He's not an elite player. He's probably not 100% confirmed for our starting 22, but, you know, he's between that A/B grade level. All right, next. Sam Powell-Pepper. Well, he didn't play much of this season, but he's definitely in our starting 22. So he definitely will be in our starting 22 next year when he comes back from that ACL. Good enough to be in our starting 22 consistently. All right, then we've got Zerk Thatcher. Still quite young, key defender for us. He's in our starting 22 because really we need to just give a bit more patience for Zerk Thatcher, and hopefully 2025 he gets a bit more solid, learns a lot on the off-season, and he becomes a good key player, key defender for us. All right, next we have Travis Boak. Travis Boak, oldest player on the team, 370-plus games. He's not, I wouldn't 100% confirm in our starting 22 and think, yep, he's definitely starting 22 player, but he's an A grade, B grade player in the AFL side. All right. Then we got Burden. Ryan Burden didn't play much of the year with us, but when Dan Houston got injured, Ryan Burden had to come in for that, and he did okay, so he's definitely an A grade/B grade player this season. Darcy Byrne-Jones is not a starting 22 player. I don't know why Hinkley kept playing him in the starting 22. He's a 1%er. You only see him for 1% of the game, and in that 1%, he may kick 1 goal for you. But if Darcy Byrne-Jones offered a trade to another club and he said, I want a trade, I'd be like, see you later. Go. All right, next player. All right, Marshall. Now, Todd Marshall, he's definitely not in our starting 22 because he's just not consistent as a player. And his concussions didn't really help him this year, but he's under contract still. He's definitely in our team if he's at his best. All right, Ollie Lord. I don't think Ollie Lord is an SANFL player. I think he could be in our AFL side. We just need to give more confidence in him. Well, he needs to get more confidence in himself. He should be playing over over Dixon. Dixon is finished. We'll get to Dixon, but I think he's still quite young. He's still got a bit to learn, but I think he'll grow as a player. So I'm going to put him as an A grade / B grade player. Really, Rioli, he's definitely now starting 22, our best half small forward. Trickster, Candyman, can kick some great goals. So Willie Rioli, starting 22 there. Dan Houston, well, we all know where he goes. He's an elite player. Second All-Australian this year, probably one of the best kicks, halfbacks in the game by far. An elite player. Any club would want him. Let's see where he goes at the end of this season. Let's see if he's staying or if he actually is going to a Melbourne club. But watch this space for Dan Houston in the trade period. It's going to be a good watch. All right, next is Dylan Williams. I think Dylan Williams is a bit underrated. I think he could do well if we consistently played him in our starting 22. But for some reason, Coach Hinckley thinks there's some other better players than Dylan Williams. But he's definitely can play at the AFL level. So, Dylan Williams, that's where you're going. Mitch Georgiades, he's in our starting 22. I won't put him at the elite stage, but I think he can be an elite player. He's still quite young for a forward. Came back from an ACL last year, so he missed all of last year. Came back maybe round 5 this year from his ACL. But when he came back, he was doing good. A few games he kicked 3 or 4 goals in a game. Our leading goal scorer for the year, so definitely now starting 22. Hopefully he has a breakout season next year. Might even put some money on him to win the Coleman. Some cheeky money. Narkle, delist him. Why do we continue to pick up players that Geelong reject? He came in as a sub. Actually, you know what? I'm a bit harsh on you. I'll put you at SNFL. I think you're good enough to make the SNFL, and I think you're good enough to be a top-up player. But, yeah, you're not definitely in our starting 22 or even as a sub. All right. Oh, what a superstar. 18-year-old player, Logan Evans. He is in our starting 22. He's one of the youngest players in the AFL this year. Got missed, totally ignored throughout last year's draft. No one picked him up. No team picked him up. Comes in at the mid-season draft. We pick him up, and he played every game. Won a NAB Rising Star for the Week award. But Logan Evans, great halfback, great ball user for 18-year-old, definitely now starting 22. He'll win the Gavin Wanganeen medal. He should win the Gavin Wanganeen medal for this year. All right, Jace Burgoyne. He's not our starting 22. I can't lock him in 100% every week. But he is at that A grade or /B grade level. Just depends on how he plays. Sometimes he plays and you're like, what a game, Jace. He played really well, got a lot of the ball, moved the ball well. And then other times he just does pretty bad things, gets pushed off the ball. He just needs to put some more meat on off the off-season. He can be a great player if he just needs to put on a few more kilos because he got pushed off the ball. I was watching that Sydney Port game in that prelim and Heaney just outbodied him. So just needs Burgoyne. Just need to put some muscle on, mate, and you can be a great player. All right, next is Jordan Sweet. Became our starting ruckman. He's definitely now starting 22 for this season. Former premiership player in the SANFL with North Adelaide. Bulldogs reserve ruckman because they had English in their team. He didn't really get much opportunity, but came to our team and he has cemented his spot as our main ruckman after Soldo's injury at the early part of this season. Speaking of Soldo is here. Soldo started the season off pretty well, actually, but when he got his injuries, he was out for a few months. With those injuries, Sweet just overtook him. Sweet stood up and took that role in that ruck, and now his Mrs. wants to trade him back to Melbourne because she doesn't like Adelaide because it's boring. I don't blame her. But so Soldo, I don't know. Again, I don't know why Hinckley just did not play Soldo as that ruck forward in the finals. Like Dixon couldn't jump, he couldn't move, he was slow, couldn't contest the ball. Soldo could have done better, I think, if we played him. All right, the next player is Jen McEntee. Jen McEntee, SAFL standard player. He's just too small, I think, as a player. Like, he's just... You got some small players, but they've got some advantages. I just don't think Jen McEntee has much advantage of being a small player. He can play football, but he's a top-up player. All right, Jeremy Finlayson. Jeremy, I wouldn't have him in my starting 22. He's a B grader at best. So, Jeremy Finlayson, I don't think we'll see him much next year. He'll probably be more of a top-up player. You're in the AFL. He'll be a top-up player for us next year. All right, Charlie Dixon. Well, we know what column he's going to. Charlie Dixon has actually been delisted by the Port Adelaide Football Club. He, just too slow, can't jump. Age has caught up with Charlie Dixon. He's a strong unit, but unfortunately, very low possession, low impact game, delisted. All the best with your hot rods in the future. Dante Vincentini. Look, Dante Vincentini didn't really play much for us this season. I don't even think he played 1 or 2 games. He's okay. He's a young player. He's a skinny kid. He needs a bit more years in him to really see what kind of potential he can bring to the team. But at this stage, who knows? He probably will play a lot more games for us next year. He is that backup ruckman after Sweet. So if they're looking at playing 2 ruckmans, they'll bring him in. He's just a top-up player at this stage for us. Okay, the next one is that Will Lorenz, SAFL player. Not much more to say about him. Jason Horne-Francis, well, we know where he goes. Straight to the elite column. Can't get there any quicker. Any team would want him. I don't know. People bag him, but they're jealous. Like, this guy is a superstar. I've seen him play. He for a 21-year-old, he goes hard. He's got a lot of skill. Great kick of the ball. Can go up forward. He give him 1 or 2 years, we're going to see him poll pretty high in the Brownlow votes. It could be in the next year or 2. Watch this space. The player that should not be played, Francis Evans. I don't know why he got so many opportunities at the AFL level when we didn't have to put him as in that side. He is a top-up player. He's SANFL standard at best, and that's where he belongs. All right, Kane Farrell. Kane Farrell's definitely now starting 22. He's done a lot better. He's actually improved over the years. He's getting better and better. Great kick of the ball, half-back flank. Unfortunately, got injured with that hamstring going into the finals. But definitely now starting 22. I think he'll continue to develop as a really good player for us. Miles Bergman, he's definitely now starting 22 as well. Miles Bergman, great defender. Just a few games, he saved us in defence. We need to keep him. We need to keep him in this team. Give him a good contract. He's worth every dollar. First round draft pick a couple of years back. So, excellent player. I've got a soft spot for Miles Bergman. Took a photo with him at the sushi place at Port Adelaide. But really nice guy and a great player. So, Miles Bergman, yep, definitely now starting 22. All right. Josh Sin. Josh Sin, still quite young. Hopefully next year he needs to have a breakout season, basically. He's definitely at the AFL level. Just need to get more from that. Being a first-round pick, Josh Sin, I want to see more from you, Josh Sin, going to 2025. But definitely an A/grade, B-grade player for us in that team. All right, William Drew is definitely in our starting 22. William Drew is a great ball user, great in the midfield, great tagger, probably the most underrated player in our team. Didn't even score a single Brownlow point in his AFL career. Can you believe that? But definitely now starting 22. Great midfielder. Great to have William Drew in our team. All right. Ollie Wines, definitely now starting 22. Ollie Wines is up and down, but he's solid. He's solid enough to continue to be in that starting 22. You don't get a bad game from Ollie Wines, but there is occasions when you get some great games from Ollie Wines. So going to 2025... we need more great games from him going into next season. But for 2024, he's definitely now starting 22 and a solid midfielder. All right, Aaliyah. Aaliyah is in our starting 22. There was a couple of games that he played quite well, Aaliyah, as a defender. Look, I wouldn't say he's at the elite stage yet, but he's pretty solid. He's definitely now 22. Our defence wouldn't be as good without him in it. Can have some great games. Intercepts the ball quite well. So Aaliyah starting 22. All right, now we're down to the vice captain. We know where you're going. Straight to the top. Zach Butters, probably our best and fairest for this year. should be our best and fairest winner for this year. Probably in the AFL best 10 players, I would say. Third in the Brownlow votes this year. So, excellent player, elite player. Continues to improve. It's starting to get the tag. That's how dangerous he is. Can win that ball in that midfield. Inside 50s are great. Zach Butters, our MVP, BOG, top of the ladder player, the showstopper, the main eventer, the headliner in Zach Butters. And last but not least is our captain in Mr. Connor Rozee. Now, Connor Rozee started the season quite well. Actually, he was very strong chance to win the Brownlow in the first maybe 5 weeks, but he got that hamstring, and of course, Box Hinckley decided to play him with an injury, and it just threw him back an extra couple of weeks from that injury. So he didn't really start performing until the end of the season again. Look, he wasn't his best season for the dual All-Australian, but he's definitely at the elite level, and hopefully Connor goes back to that elite status in the 2025 season. So I think that's all the players I can remember off the top of my head, and that's where I've ranked them all. So we've got our top 4 players for the season, I think, were Zach Butters, Dan Houston, Jameson Horne-Francis, and Connor Rozee. And of course, we've got Charlie Dixon right down the bottom, who should be delisted. And then we've got those 4 or 5 there that are, or 6, in the SAFL team. And then the rest can play at the AFL level. So 2, 3, 4, how many we've got? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. So 26 of those players are in our AFL side, definitely AFL side. So I think going into 2025, these are definitely going to be in the mix to be at the AFL level. Of course, you all heard the trade rumour. Well, it's not really a rumour, it's confirmed now that Jack Lukosius from the Gold Coast Suns will be coming across at some point. We'll see what we need to trade to get him, but he'll definitely be in our starting 22 and a great input in our forward line. So that's David Peck. That's my ranking of every Port Adelaide player that played at the AFL level this year in 2024. And hopefully 2025, we can go that one step closer to the Premiership and make at least the grand final. Have a good week. Until next time.